Really, this should be called the Let's Not Bail Out China Amendment, because we already discussed a little bit about cap and trade. You know, we know that there's a cap and trade provision in the president's budget. At least $646 billion is probably more than that. I want to throw some facts out there, because I know we like to mention Bush a lot, but I'm going to talk about people that we know and I think both sides respect. CBO director, when he was a CBO director, now the OMB director, Mr. Orszag talked about how much of these costs will be passed along to consumers in the form of higher prices for energy and energy-intensive goods. In his written testimony, again, this is not Bush, this is Mr. Orszag, mentioned that there would be an average annual household cost of $1,300 for a 15% cut in CO2 emissions, which, by the way, is 80% less than is sought in the president's budget proposal. This amendment basically just says this, that let's not implement the cap and trade until other countries, other high CO2 emitting countries like China and India and others, don't do the same. Now, why would we not want to do it until they do it as well? Well, because, again, quoting somebody that I know you all respect a lot, just recently, March 17th, 2009, the new Energy Secretary, Mr. Chu, testifying before the Senate Science Committee, stated, quote, if other countries don't impose a cost on carbon, then we will be at a disadvantage. I guess you're going to criticize him now, too, because he is saying that we will be in a disadvantage unless other countries like China and India and others don't impose a CO2 cap like the one that the president is proposing. So all this does is says, not that we're going to stop it, but let's not do it unilaterally without the other countries doing it as well, so that we are not, as the new secretary himself said, because otherwise it would put us at a real serious disadvantage. That's all that this amendment does. I think it's a no-brainer. It's easy to understand. Don't take our word for it. Take your new secretary himself when he said that it would put us in a disadvantage. So why would you knowingly put the United States, that's already struggling, in a disadvantage with other countries like China, particular China, because that's what he was referring to when he was speaking, knowingly do that. Knowingly do that. We're not here to discuss, this is not debating cap and trade, this is to make sure that we don't put the United States in an unfair disadvantage knowingly by the passage of that legislation if this amendment is not in there. That's why I urge the passage of this amendment. The Secretary was very clear that it said it would put us in a disadvantage. Now, he said we could do some things, like we could consider duties to offset that cost. Yet that would contradict what the President said just the other day in his night in his press conference, when he said that we cannot be in a situation of starting a trade war. So, again, all this says, I'm not here, by the way, because all of a sudden he's talking about global warming. I never debated. I'm not here to debate that issue. I'm not saying that we should stop doing it. What I am saying is that unilaterally it will not work. And I think there's pretty much a pretty global understanding that the United States alone doing it will not work, won't solve the problem. All the horrors that Mr. Doggett has just mentioned will still happen, even if the United States does all of this stuff unilaterally. If we don't get some of the other major CO2 producers, particular China, it won't work. So we're going to spend trillions of dollars in taxpayers' money. We're going to lose millions of jobs to not get any positive results knowingly. That's irresponsible. This is a good amendment.